Deep in the wilderness of southwestern Vermont lies a patch of land shrouded in mystery and fear. It's an area known as the Bennington Triangle, a place where, between 1945 and 1950, at least 5 people walked into the woods and were never seen again. Their stories are not just simple missing person cases. They are chilling tales that defy all logical explanation, leaving behind a legacy of unanswered questions. What happened to them? Did they get lost in the unforgiving terrain, or did something far more sinister snatch them away? Today, we journey into the heart of this enigma, exploring the strange and terrifying events that gave the Bennington Triangle its dark reputation. Our story begins near the imposing Glastonbury Mountain. For centuries, Native American tribes considered this area cursed, a place to be avoided. They spoke of an enchanted stone that could swallow a man whole and winds that could drive a person mad. Early settlers, too, reported strange lights in the sky, eerie sounds echoing through the valleys, and unsettling feelings of being watched. But it wasn't until the mid-20th century that the mountain's sinister nature truly revealed itself to the modern world. The first disappearance in this bizarre string of events was that of 74-year-old Midday Rivers on November 12, 1945. Rivers was an experienced hunter and woodsman who knew the area like the back of his hand. He was leading a group of 4 other hunters up the slopes of Glastonbury Mountain. At one point, he got slightly ahead of the group and told them he'd continue on to the next bend while they sorted out their gear. He walked around a corner, and that was the last time anyone ever saw him. His companions followed just moments later, but he was gone, vanished. A massive search party was organized, combing the area for days. They found absolutely no trace of Midday Rivers. Not a footprint, not a dropped piece of equipment, nothing. The only clue they discovered was a single, unfired rifle cartridge in a stream bed. It was the same type of cartridge Rivers used, but it told them nothing about his fate. How could an experienced guide simply disappear from a trail he had walked countless times, just seconds ahead of his group? It was as if the forest itself had swallowed him whole. Almost exactly 1 year later, on December 1st, 1946, the Triangle claimed its second victim. 18-year-old Paula Jean Weldon was a sophomore at Bennington College. She was an avid hiker and decided to go for a walk on the Long Trail, a well-known hiking path that cuts through the region. She told her roommate she was going for a long walk, but didn't say exactly where. Later, witnesses, including a local store owner and an elderly couple, reported seeing her on the trail. The couple said she rounded a bend in the path, and when they reached the same spot a few moments later, she was gone. When Paula didn't return to her dorm, the alarm was raised. The search for her was one of the largest in Vermont's history. The FBI was called in, and hundreds of volunteers, including students and state police, scoured the mountainside. The trail she was on was not particularly dangerous or confusing, especially for a girl who loved the outdoors. Yet, just like with Midday Rivers, the searchers found nothing. Not a single clue. No scrap of clothing. No footprints in the late autumn mud. It was another impossible vanishing act, this time in broad daylight on a popular trail. The case drew national attention, but Paula Jean Weldon was never found, and her disappearance remains one of Vermont's most haunting cold cases. The mystery deepened 3 years later, on December 1st, 1949, the exact same date Paula Weldon vanished. A veteran named James E. Tedford was returning home to the Bennington Soldiers' home on a bus. He had been visiting relatives in a nearby town. Multiple witnesses, a full bus of 14 other passengers, saw him on board, dozing in his seat. The bus made its journey without incident. But when it arrived at its final destination in Bennington, James Tedford was gone. His luggage was still on the overhead rack, and an open bus timetable lay on his empty seat. He had vanished from a moving bus, surrounded by other people. The driver and passengers were baffled. No one had seen him get off. The bus had made no unscheduled stops where he could have slipped away. Tedford, A man who seemingly disappeared into thin air from a moving vehicle was never seen again. His case is perhaps the most perplexing of them all. How do you explain a man vanishing from a crowded, enclosed space? Was there a connection to the other disappearances? It's a detail that sends shivers down your spine. Less than a year later, in October 1950, the triangle struck again. This time, the victim was an 8-year-old boy named Paul Jepson. Paul was with his mother in their family truck near the local dump. His mother left him playing happily near the vehicle while she was occupied feeding their pigs for about an hour. When she returned, Paul was gone. He was wearing a bright red jacket, which should have made him easy to spot against the autumn landscape. An extensive search was launched immediately. Bloodhounds were brought in, and they tracked the boy's scent along a local road before it abruptly stopped in the middle of the roadway, the same area where Paula Weldon had disappeared for years earlier. Did someone pick him up? The dogs seemed to indicate he had gotten into a vehicle, but no one reported seeing a car stop for the boy. Despite a massive manhunt involving hundreds of people, not a single trace of Paul Jepson was ever found. His bright red jacket, which should have been a beacon, was never recovered. The forest had claimed another soul. Just 16 days after little Paul Jepson vanished, the final and perhaps strangest disappearance occurred. On October 28, 1950, 53-year-old Frida Langer set out on a hike with her cousin near the Somerset Reservoir. During the hike, she slipped and fell into a stream, getting her clothes wet. She told her cousin she was going to walk back to their campsite to change, a short trip of less than half a mile. She knew the area well. When she didn't return after a reasonable amount of time, her cousin went looking for her but found no sign of her. Another massive search was launched, this time involving airplanes, helicopters, and over 300 searchers. For weeks, they combed the area but found nothing. The search was eventually called off as winter set in. But then, 7 months later, in May 1951, Frida Langer's body was found. It was discovered in an open field near the Somerset Reservoir, an area that had been searched exhaustively and repeatedly the previous fall. The location was out in the open, not hidden in dense woods. How could hundreds of searchers and multiple aircraft have missed her body for 7 months? The condition of her remains only added to the mystery. Despite being exposed to a harsh Vermont winter for 7 months, her body was described by the coroner as being in a state of preservation that was baffling. The cause of death could not be determined. Why did her body suddenly appear in a place that had been searched so thoroughly? Where had she been for all those months? It was the only case where a body was recovered, but its discovery only created more questions than answers. So what is the explanation for these 5 bizarre disappearances in the Bennington Triangle? Theories range from the logical to the supernatural. Some believe a serial killer was operating in the area, preying on unsuspecting victims. This could explain how people vanished without a trace, but it doesn't account for James Tedford disappearing from a moving bus, or why Frida Langer's body appeared months later in a heavily searched area. Others point to the harsh and unpredictable nature of the Vermont wilderness. The terrain is rugged, the weather can change in an instant, and there are many old wells, mine shafts, and crevasses where a person could fall and never be found. This is a plausible explanation for getting lost, but it doesn't quite fit the specific circumstances. Then there are the more outlandish theories, fueled by the area's folklore. Some whisper of a creature, a Bennington monster, a sort of Vermont Bigfoot that stalks the woods. Others talk about UFOs and alien abductions, pointing to historical reports of strange lights in the sky over Glastonbury Mountain. Could these individuals have been taken by something not of this world? Or perhaps there's a stranger, more paranormal explanation, a time warp, a portal to another dimension hidden in the folds of the mountain, a place where the laws of physics as we know them don't apply. After 1950, the strange cluster of disappearances stopped as suddenly as it began. The Bennington Triangle fell silent. But the legend lives on. a chilling reminder that there are still places in this world that hold dark secrets, places where people can simply step out of existence. The cases remain open, the files gathering dust, a testament to a 5-year period when a patch of Vermont woods seemed to develop an appetite for human beings. The mystery of what truly happened in the Bennington Triangle endures, haunting the quiet mountains and whispering through the trees. Thank you for joining me on this journey into one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. What do you think happened to the lost souls of the Bennington Triangle? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you found this story as captivating as I did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the unknown. Stay curious and stay safe. February 9th, 2004. A snowy evening on a sharp turn in the backwoods of New Hampshire. A lone driver, Butch Atwood, spots a black Saturn sedan crashed into a snowbank. He pulls over and asks the young woman at the wheel if she needs help. She declines, saying she's already called AAA, even though there's no cell service in the area. Butch drives home, just 100 yards away, and calls the police anyway. By the time they arrive, just minutes later, the car is locked and the driver is gone. She has vanished without a trace. This is the beginning of one of the most baffling and intensely debated missing person cases in modern history, the disappearance of Maura Murray. For 2 decades, this story has captivated and haunted people around the world, spawning a universe of theories, endless online debates, and a dedicated community of amateur sleuths. But what really happened to the 21-year-old nursing student who seemingly drove off into the night and disappeared from the face of the earth? Today, we're going deep. We're going to sift through the known facts, separate them from the rampant online speculation, and explore the most compelling questions that still remain unanswered. Why did Maura, a bright student at UMass Amherst, suddenly pack a bag, lie to her professors about a death in the family, withdraw cash, buy alcohol, and start driving north with no clear destination? This wasn't just a random trip. It was a planned escape, but an escape from what? Or to whom? Let's start with Maura herself. She was a West Point cadet before transferring to nursing school. She was an athlete, a daughter, a sister. But in the days leading up to her disappearance, her life seemed to be unraveling. Just 2 nights before she vanished, she crashed her father's brand new car. The night before that, she had an emotional breakdown at her campus security job. Friends described her as being in a zone. Was she running from a personal crisis? A secret she couldn't bear to face? Now, let's go back to that crash scene on Route 112. When police arrived, they found Maura's car locked. Inside, they saw her belongings, including textbooks and birth control pills. An open container of alcohol and a damaged box of wine were also present. On the back seat, a backpack filled with clothes. Her wallet and cell phone were missing. Police reports noted that a rag was stuffed into the tailpipe of the car. Was this a desperate attempt to fake a breakdown, or something more sinister? The initial search was extensive. Police, search and rescue teams, and helicopters scoured the vast, unforgiving terrain of the White Mountains. They used thermal imagers and search dogs. One dog tracked a scent for about 100 yards east of the crash site before it abruptly stopped in the middle of the road. This detail has become a cornerstone of the most prevalent theory, that Maura got into another vehicle. Did a stranger stop to offer her a ride? A good Samaritan who turned out to be a predator? Or was this a planned rendezvous? Did someone she knew pick her up? The lack of physical evidence is what makes this case so frustrating and so fertile for speculation. There were no footprints in the snow leading away from the car, aside from those around the vehicle itself. No signs of a struggle. Maura Murray simply ceased to exist at that spot on the road. This is where the internet takes over. The Maura Murray case became one of the first true crime sensations of the digital age. Online forums and Reddit threads exploded with theories, some plausible, some bordering on the absurd. Let's look at a few. One popular theory is that Maura, distraught and possibly intoxicated, simply wandered into the woods and succumbed to the elements. The area is dense and treacherous, especially in winter. It's entirely possible her remains have just never been found. But seasoned searchers have covered the area countless times. Could she really have remained hidden for 2 decades? Then there's the tandem driver theory. This suggests Maura wasn't alone. Someone was following her in another car. When she crashed, this person picked her up, and they continued their journey together. This could explain why she refused help from Butch Atwood. She knew her ride was right behind her. This theory opens up a whole new set of questions. Who was this person, and why the secrecy? Was she running away to start a new life in Canada, as some have suggested? Her father, Fred Murray, has long believed that Maura was abducted by a local dirtbag, someone who saw an opportunity and seized it. He's been relentless in his pursuit of justice, often clashing with law enforcement over their handling of the case. He believes crucial time was wasted in the initial hours, and that the police didn't treat it as a potential abduction soon enough. Other theories are far darker. Some point to a local man who had a history of strange behavior and lived near the crash site. Others have tried to connect her disappearance to a hit-and-run incident involving another student that happened on campus just days before she left. Could she have been the driver, fleeing out of guilt and fear? Police investigated this and found no connection, but the theory persists online. Perhaps one of the most chilling pieces of information came from a contractor who was working on a house less than a mile from the crash site. Years later, he came forward claiming he saw a young woman jogging on the road around the time Maura disappeared, followed by a dark SUV. He didn't think much of it at the time. Could this have been Maura? We also have to consider the strange phone calls. A few days after she vanished, her boyfriend received a voicemail that sounded like a person whimpering. Though it was traced to a calling card Maura owned, the origin of the call remains a mystery. Was it Maura in distress, or just a pocket dial capturing background noise? The story is a tangled web of contradictions. She told Butch Atwood she'd called AAA, but there was no cell service. The rag in the tailpipe suggests car trouble, but why would someone do that to their own car on purpose unless they wanted an excuse to stop? She packed her school books, suggesting she intended to study, but also lied to her professors about a family emergency. Every clue seems to point in two directions at once. Over the years, numerous searches have been conducted based on tips and new theories. Cadaver dogs have been brought to the basement of a house near the crash site, where a new concrete floor had been poured shortly after Maura vanished. The search turned up nothing. Ground-penetrating radar has been used. Areas have been excavated, but every lead turns into a dead end. The disappearance of Maura Murray is more than just a cold case. It's a story about the digital age's obsession with true crime, the power of a mystery to capture our collective imagination, and the unending pain of a family left without answers. They are stuck in a state of limbo, unable to mourn, unable to move on. What do I think happened? Honestly, the theory of her getting into another car seems the most likely. The dog's scent trail ending abruptly on the road is a powerful piece of evidence. Whether that car contained a friend or a foe is the billion-dollar question. The idea that she started a new life seems like wishful thinking, a hopeful fantasy in the face of a grim reality. It's incredibly difficult to vanish so completely in the modern world without leaving some kind of digital or financial footprint. The most probable scenario, and the most tragic, is that she accepted a ride from the wrong person. A young woman, alone on a dark road, her car disabled. It's a vulnerable situation, and there are predators who look for exactly that kind of opportunity. But until there's a confession, a body, or a breakthrough piece of evidence, we are all just storytellers, piecing together fragments of a puzzle with most of its pieces missing. Maura Murray remains a ghost, a question mark frozen in time on a snowy New Hampshire road. Her story serves as a chilling reminder that sometimes people can just disappear, leaving behind nothing but questions and a silence that echoes for decades. What are your thoughts on this case? Which theory do you find most compelling? Let me know down in the comments. This is one of those mysteries that sticks with you, and hearing different perspectives is always fascinating. Thanks for watching, and if you're interested in more deep dives into unsolved mysteries, make sure to subscribe. See you next time. The night was November 28, 1981. Aboard the Splendor, a 60-foot yacht anchored off Catalina Island, were four people: Hollywood superstar Natalie Wood, her husband Robert Wagner, their friend and fellow actor Christopher Walken, and the boat's captain, Dennis Davern. By the next morning, Natalie Wood would be gone, her body found floating in the cold Pacific waters, a mile away from the yacht. She was 43 years old. The official cause of death was ruled an accidental drowning. But for decades, this explanation has been haunted by unanswered questions, conflicting stories, and a lingering suspicion that something far more sinister happened that night. What really happened on the Splendor? The story that emerged was one of a night fueled by champagne and rising tensions. Natalie, Wagner, and Walken had dinner at a restaurant on the island before returning to the yacht. According to Wagner and Walken, the evening was pleasant. But Captain Davern tells a different story. He claims the night was anything but calm. He describes a heated argument erupting between Wagner and Walken, allegedly over Natalie's career and how much time she was spending away from her family. At one point, Wagner supposedly smashed a wine bottle on the table, shouting at Walken, "Do you want to sleep with my wife?" After the argument, Walken went to his cabin and Natalie went to her stateroom. Wagner followed her. Davern reported hearing a loud, intense argument between the couple coming from their cabin. Then, suddenly, silence. Sometime later, Wagner came to the bridge, appearing distressed, and told Davern that Natalie was missing. But strangely, he seemed to resist calling for help immediately. He allegedly told Davern they should wait. Perhaps she had gone ashore in the yacht's dinghy, the Valiant. This delay in calling the Coast Guard is one of the most puzzling aspects of the case. Why wait hours to search for your missing wife in the dark, cold water? When Natalie's body was discovered the next morning, she was wearing a flannel nightgown, a down jacket, and wool socks. The small inflatable dinghy was found washed ashore nearby, its motor in neutral and the oars tied. The initial theory was that Natalie, who had a lifelong, well-known fear of dark water, decided to take the dinghy to shore by herself, in the middle of the night, for reasons unknown. Investigators suggested she might have been annoyed by the sound of the dinghy banging against the hull of the yacht and went to secure it. In this scenario, she slipped while trying to reboard the dinghy, hit her head, and fell into the water, unconscious. This theory of an accident, however, doesn't quite line up with the physical evidence. The autopsy revealed bruises on Natalie's arms, wrist, and knee, as well as a scratch on her neck. Were these injuries consistent with a simple fall, or did they suggest a struggle? The medical examiner at the time, Dr. Thomas Noguchi, concluded they were likely sustained as she struggled to pull herself out of the water. But others have questioned this. The location of the bruises seemed to suggest she may have been assaulted before she even entered the water. Then there's the mystery of her state of mind. People close to Natalie insisted she would never have gone near the water alone at night, especially not in a dinghy. Her sister, Lana Wood, has been one of the most vocal critics of the official story, believing Natalie would have been terrified to even attempt such a thing. So, if she didn't go willingly, how did she end up in the water? Was she pushed? Did she fall during a physical altercation? For 30 years, the case was officially closed. Robert Wagner maintained that it was a tragic accident. Christopher Walken has rarely spoken about it publicly. But in 2011, the case was dramatically reopened by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. This was prompted by new statements from Captain Dennis Davern, who had co-authored a book about that night. Davern now claimed he had lied to police in his original statement in 1981, pressured by Wagner to stick to the accident story. Davern's new account painted a much darker picture. He claimed the argument between Wagner and Natalie was violent. He said that after he heard them fighting, he went to check on them, but Wagner told him to go away. A short time later, he heard the sounds of a struggle on the deck, followed by silence. He believes Wagner is responsible for Natalie's death, though he stops short of saying he witnessed him push her. He stated, "I believe Robert Wagner was with her right up until the moment she went into the water." According to Davern, when he expressed a desire to turn on the searchlights and call for help, Wagner refused, telling him, "We don't want to do anything. We don't want to alert anyone." This new information led to a change in Natalie's death certificate in 2012. The cause of death was amended from accidental drowning to drowning and other undetermined factors. The updated coroner's report noted that the bruises on her body were fresh and could have occurred before she entered the water, stating, "The location of the bruises, the multiplicity of the bruises, lack of head trauma or facial bruising support bruising having occurred prior to entry in the water." It concluded that the full circumstances of her death remain unknown. In 2018, the case took another stunning turn when Robert Wagner was officially named a person of interest by investigators. Detectives stated that Wagner's version of events just doesn't add up. They believe he was the last person to be with Natalie before she disappeared. Lieutenant John Carina of the Sheriff's Department said in an interview, "We know that he was the last person to be with Natalie before she disappeared. I think he's constantly changed his story a little bit. and his version of events just don't add up. Despite being named a person of interest, Wagner has never been arrested or charged with any crime. He has consistently refused to speak with investigators since the case was reopened. So where does that leave us? We have a star with a deep-seated fear of water, found drowned a mile from her yacht. We have a story of a drunken argument, a missing dinghy, and a husband who waited hours to call for help. We have bruises on the victim's body that a coroner believes may have happened before she went into the water. We have a captain who changed his story, now accusing the husband of a cover-up. And we have a husband, now a person of interest, who has remained silent for years in the face of these renewed accusations. Was it a tragic, freak accident, a series of unfortunate events that led to Natalie slipping and falling into the sea? Or was it something more? Did a heated argument on the deck of the Splendor escalate into a physical confrontation that had fatal consequences? Did Natalie fall overboard during a struggle? Was she pushed? And if so, was her death intentionally covered up by those on board? The truth of what happened in the dark waters off Catalina Island remains elusive, buried for over 4 decades. Without a confession or new, definitive physical evidence, the mystery of Natalie Wood's death may never be solved. The questions hang in the air, a haunting final chapter to the life of a Hollywood legend. The glamour of her life stands in stark contrast to the darkness and uncertainty surrounding her death, a Hollywood mystery that continues to captivate and disturb us all. What do you think happened that night? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Have you ever walked past an old church at night and felt a sudden chill, a feeling that you're not alone? Welcome to Newcastle upon Tyne, a city steeped in history, where ancient stone walls whisper tales of centuries past. Today, we delving into one of its most enduring and chilling mysteries, the ghostly wandering woman of St. Andrew's Church. Nestled near the city's bustling heart, St. Andrew's is Newcastle's oldest church, with parts of it dating back over 900 years. It's a place of quiet reverence by day, but as twilight descends, it becomes the stage for a much different, much spookier story. For generations, locals and visitors alike have reported seeing a lone female figure, dressed in old-fashioned attire, pacing solemnly through the churchyard. They call her the Wandering Woman. Who is she? And why is her spirit seemingly tethered to this sacred ground? The most popular legend ties her to the turbulent times of the English Civil War. In the 1640s, Newcastle was a royalist stronghold, fiercely loyal to King Charles I. The city found itself under a brutal siege by Scottish forces allied with the parliamentarians. For months, the people of Newcastle endured starvation and constant bombardment. The city's defenses were formidable, but the siege was relentless. St. Andrew's Church, with its sturdy tower, became a strategic vantage point. From its heights, defenders could rain down fire on the advancing enemy. It was from this very tower that a man named Anderson, a master gunner, proved to be a formidable obstacle to the Scots. His aim was true, and his cannons kept the attackers at bay, inflicting heavy casualties. The Scottish commander, growing desperate, resorted to a cruel and cunning tactic. He rounded up prominent citizens of Newcastle who had been taken prisoner and forced them to stand in the direct line of fire, believing Anderson wouldn't dare shoot at his own people. The story goes that among these human shields was Anderson's own son. Faced with an impossible choice, a true moment of horror, Anderson declared that he would sacrifice his son before he would see his city fall. He gave the order to fire. The cannons roared, and the attack was repelled, but at an unimaginable personal cost. Anderson's son was among the fallen. This is where the tale of the Wandering Woman begins. Many believe she is the heartbroken wife of Anderson, the grieving mother of the son sacrificed for the city. Driven mad by sorrow, she is said to have spent the rest of her days aimlessly wandering the churchyard, searching for the son she lost, her mind shattered by the horrors of war. Even in death, her tormented spirit cannot find rest. She continues her search, a spectral figure forever trapped in her grief, pacing the grounds where her family was torn apart. Witness accounts through the years have been eerily consistent. People describe a figure, often described as tall and slender, draped in what appears to be a long, dark dress or cloak. Her face is usually obscured, either by shadows, a hood, or simply an overwhelming sense of sorrow that seems to blur her features. She moves silently, gliding over the ancient gravestones, never acknowledging those who see her, completely lost in her eternal vigil. Some have reported hearing faint, sorrowful weeping carried on the night air, a sound with no apparent source. Others have felt an inexplicable drop in temperature or a profound sense of sadness wash over them as they pass the churchyard gates late at night. One of the most common sightings involves her appearing near the church tower, the very place from which the fatal order was given. Is she looking up at the tower, reliving that horrific moment? Or is she looking down, searching the grounds for a familiar face among the shadows? Of course, skeptics offer other explanations. The play of moonlight through the old trees, the wind whistling through the ancient architecture, or simply the power of suggestion fueled by a well-known local legend. Newcastle is a city that loves its ghost stories, and St. Andrews provides the perfect atmospheric backdrop. The narrow, cobbled street it sits on, Gallowgate, even hints at a dark past of public executions, adding to the area's spooky reputation. But the sheer number of reports, stretching back over decades, even centuries, makes you wonder. Could so many different people, at different times, all be mistaken in the same way? Photographers have tried to capture her image, and paranormal investigators have spent countless nights with their equipment, hoping to record some definitive proof. The results are often inconclusive: a strange orb of light here, an unexplained electronic voice phenomenon there, but nothing that definitively proves or disproves the existence of the wandering woman. Perhaps the lack of concrete evidence is what makes the story so powerful. It exists in that blurry space between history and myth, between what we know and what we feel. It forces us to confront the deep, emotional scars that conflict can leave behind. The story isn't just about a ghost. It's about a mother's unending love and a loss so profound that it echoes through time itself. Imagine walking past St. Andrews as the city quiets down for the night. The modern world of traffic and neon signs fades away, and for a moment, you're transported back to the 17th century. The air is thick with the smell of wood smoke and fear. The silence is broken only by the distant sounds of a city under siege. And then, out of the corner of your eye, you see her, a lone figure moving through the tombstones. She doesn't seem threatening, just lost, enveloped in a sadness that time cannot heal. What would you do? Would you run? Would you try to speak to her? Or would you simply stand and watch, a silent witness to her centuries-old sorrow? It's a chilling thought. The legend of the wandering woman of St. Andrews is more than just a ghost story. It's a piece of Newcastle's soul. It's a haunting reminder that the past is never truly gone. It lingers in the stones, in the air, and in the stories we tell to keep the memory of those who came before us alive. So, the next time you find yourself in Newcastle, perhaps you'll pay a visit to St. Andrew's Church. Go during the day to admire its incredible history and architecture. But if you're feeling brave, maybe take a stroll past as dusk settles in. Keep your eyes open. You might just see a lone figure pacing the grounds, forever searching for her lost son, a spectral guardian of one of the city's most tragic and captivating tales. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the unknown. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more explorations into the world's most fascinating mysteries. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had a paranormal experience of your own. Stay curious, and see you next time. On January 31st, 2013, a video was uploaded to the internet that would haunt millions. It was 4 minutes of grainy, unsettling footage from an elevator security camera at the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. The video showed a young woman, 21-year-old Canadian student Elisa Lam, behaving erratically. She enters the elevator, presses multiple buttons, and then seems to be hiding, peeking out into the hallway as if someone is there. She steps in and out, her hands moving in strange, unnatural ways. At one point, she stands outside the elevator, talking and gesticulating as if to an unseen person. Then, she walks away, and the elevator doors, which had been malfunctioning the entire time, finally close. This was the last time anyone saw Elisa Lam alive. 2 weeks later, guests at the Cecil Hotel started complaining about low water pressure and a strange taste and color to the water. On the morning of February 19th, a hotel maintenance worker went to the roof to check the hotel's 4 large water tanks. Inside one of them, floating face up and completely unclothed, was the body of Elisa Lam. Her clothes were found at the bottom of the same tank, covered in a sand-like substance. The lid of the tank was closed. Immediately, the questions began to pile up, creating one of the most baffling and disturbing modern mysteries. How did she get into the tank? The tanks were nearly 10 feet tall, and the heavy lid would have been difficult for her to lift and close from the inside. How did she even get to the roof? The rooftop was a restricted area with locked doors and alarms that only hotel staff could bypass. No alarms were triggered that night. And what explains her bizarre behavior in the elevator video? Let's rewind a bit to understand who Elisa Lam was. She was a bright and adventurous young woman from Vancouver, a student at the University of British Columbia. She was on a solo trip across the west coast of the United States, documenting her journey on her blog. Her posts were filled with a mix of excitement, introspection, and a candid honesty about her struggles with bipolar disorder and depression. She was open about her medication and her internal battles, but her writing also showed a deep desire for connection and experience. She wrote, "I am always haunted by the idea that I am wasting my life." She checked into the Cecil Hotel on January 26th, initially in a shared hostel-style room. However, her roommates complained about her odd behavior, and she was moved to a private room on the 5th floor just 2 days later. The Cecil Hotel itself has a dark and storied past, a history that adds another layer of creepiness to this case. Since opening in 1927, it has been the site of numerous suicides, murders, and unexplained deaths. It was a known temporary residence for at least 2 serial killers, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, and Jack Unterweger, who strangled several sex workers while staying at the hotel. For decades, it was a place where people on the margins of society ended up, a place that seemed to attract tragedy. Did the hotel's grim history have anything to do with what happened to Elisa? Some people certainly think so. Now, let's go back to that elevator video. It is the single most compelling and disturbing piece of evidence in the case. When you watch it, it feels like you're witnessing something you shouldn't be. Elisa enters and presses a whole panel of buttons. The door doesn't close. She peeks out into the hallway, then quickly retreats back into the corner of the elevator, as if hiding from someone. Then she cautiously steps out again, looks both ways, and re-enters. The door still won't close. She then steps out completely and begins a series of strange hand gestures. Her fingers are splayed, her arms move unnaturally. It's been described as if she's counting, or trying to cast a spell, or perhaps talking to someone just out of the camera's view. Finally, she walks off to the left, and she's gone. Moments later, the elevator doors finally close, and then open and close again before the video ends. Police initially released the video to the public hoping for leads, but it only deepened the mystery. Internet sleuths across the globe became obsessed. They analyzed the footage frame by frame. Some noticed that the timestamp at the bottom is obscured, suggesting potential tampering. Others pointed out that the video seems to have been slowed down in parts, and that nearly a minute of footage might be missing. Was this an attempt to hide something or someone? Was she playing a game of hide and seek? Was she having a psychotic episode? Or was she genuinely terrified of someone pursuing her? The official autopsy report from the Los Angeles County Coroner's office concluded that the cause of death was accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder listed as a significant contributing factor. The report found no evidence of physical trauma, assault, or suicide. Her toxicology screen showed she had consumed her prescribed medications, but there were no illegal drugs or alcohol in her system. However, the level of her medication was low, suggesting she may have been under-medicating or had missed doses, which could potentially trigger a manic or psychotic episode. This is the official explanation. Elisa, experiencing a psychotic episode due to her bipolar disorder, managed to get to the roof, climbed into the water tank on her own, and drowned. But for many, this explanation just doesn't add up. It leaves too many critical questions unanswered. How did she get onto the locked roof without a key and without setting off any alarms? Fire escape? But that would have been a difficult climb. How did a small woman, just over 5 feet tall, climb into a massive water tank? And most importantly, how did she manage to close the heavy, cumbersome lid from the inside after getting in? Maintenance workers said the lid was so heavy it required effort for them to open. If she was in a state of psychosis, it seems highly improbable that she would have had the presence of mind or the physical ability to close it after herself. This is where the theories begin to diverge, from the plausible to the outright paranormal. One popular theory is that someone else was involved. Perhaps she was being pursued by someone, and her behavior in the elevator was a sign of genuine fear. Maybe this person followed her to the roof and was responsible for her death, staging it to look like an accident or suicide. This would explain how she got to the roof and how the tank lid was closed. But if that's the case, who was it? A hotel guest? A staff member? There was no evidence of anyone else on the roof, no DNA, no fingerprints. Another, more bizarre theory links her death to a horror movie. The 2005 film Dark Water has an eerily similar plot. In the movie, a mother and daughter move into a creepy apartment building, experience strange, dark water coming from their taps, and eventually discover the body of a young girl who drowned in the building's rooftop water tank. The similarities are uncanny, down to a malfunctioning elevator scene. Could someone have been recreating the movie? It seems far-fetched, but the parallels are too striking for many to ignore. And then there are the supernatural theories, fueled by the Cecil Hotel's haunted reputation. Some believe that Elisa was a victim of a malevolent spirit or a dark energy that permeates the hotel. Her strange gestures in the elevator are interpreted as her interacting with a non-human entity. The idea that an evil force within the hotel led her to her death is a chilling thought, and for some, it's the only explanation that fits the bizarre circumstances. There's even a connection to a medical test. A tuberculosis outbreak occurred on Skid Row near the hotel around the same time, and the name of the test used to screen for it was the ELISA test. A pure coincidence? Probably. But in a case this strange, even the wildest coincidences seem to take on a sinister meaning. Years have passed since Elisa Lam's death, but the case remains a source of intense fascination and debate. The official ruling is accidental, but for a global community of internet detectives and true crime enthusiasts, the story is far from over. It's a perfect storm of elements: a vulnerable young woman, a hotel with a dark past, a piece of deeply unsettling video evidence, and a series of seemingly impossible circumstances. Was Elisa Lam the victim of a tragic psychotic episode, a perfect storm of mental illness and bad luck? Or was she the victim of a clever and elusive killer who has never been caught? Or could something even stranger, something paranormal, be at play within the walls of the Cecil Hotel? Every answer seems to generate more questions. The elevator video remains a silent, grainy testament to her final moments, a 4-minute puzzle that continues to mystify and horrify us. The truth of what happened on that roof remains submerged, locked away in a place we may never be able to reach. What do you think happened to Elisa Lam? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the world's greatest mysteries.